Stranger Things Season 4 teaser. What to expect. Things are about to get stranger, and I've compiled everything you should expect in Season 4 of Stranger Things, from actual facts to fan theories and everything in between. Find out who's back, who's gone for good, and a possible plot for the 4th season. Before we get started, there are spoilers ahead, so if you're not up to date yet with the show, this may be a good time to binge watch it on Netflix. Don't worry, if you've watched it before and there are things you may have forgotten or plot twists you've missed in the past, I've got you covered as well. When the Duffer Brothers signed with Netflix, they were only prepared to do one season of Stranger Things. Initially, they had planned to kill 11 in the first season, but after the promise of a second season, well, that had to change. They had a lot of rewriting to do, and we can comfortably give them a thumbs up for doing a remarkable job in the first 3 seasons. The initial plan was to shoot the seasons back to back because they were obviously scared that the kids would grow up. Later on, the production decided to mature the series as the actors grew up. Netflix revealed that more than 40 million people watched Season 3 in the first 4 days. Remarkable. It was more than any other film watched in the first 4 days. It gets better. Within the 4 days, 18.2 million people had already finished the entire season. So far, it's one of the most watched shows on Netflix, and because they're also in business, they don't want the show to come to an end anytime soon. We have yet to see the end of it, even though the writers have hinted several times that the story will soon come to an end. Executive producer Sean Levy suggested that the show may also have a 5th season, but it will be the last one. Some people may be wondering what exactly happened in Season 3. For starters, the M-Culture project which inspired the show was from an anti-Soviet PSYOPs project. In the first 2 seasons, this information was in the background, but the Cold War was evident in Season 3. And it revealed a dark conspiracy between the corrupt Mayor Klein and a secret Russian Black Ops project. It led to the construction of a Russian lab beneath Starcourt Mall. Hopper and Joyce successfully infiltrated the base and destroyed the Russian project. The kids and adults successfully managed to fight the monsters in Upside Down. So, what next? If you may recall, Season 3 left viewers with a lot of emotions and mostly tears. Season 4 is yet to start shooting as early as October, and it's expected to air in 2020. In Season 3, the kids went their separate ways, but they may need to come together in Season 4 because the worst is yet to come. The Byers family and 11 left Hawkins in search of a place less dramatic, so it's also speculation that Season 4 may not take place in Hawkins. The assumption is that they moved to Maine, where Joyce intended to move with Ben, or Illinois, where Murray lives. Some of the kids may not be part of Season 4 because they're already exploring other options in their personal careers. Take Finn Wolfhard, for instance. He's already part of The Goldfinch. When asked about the 4th season, Ross Duffer said, "We're pretty excited about where it's potentially going to go. It's going to feel very different than this season, but I think that's the right thing to do, and I think it'll be exciting." The exact plot is still unknown since the Duffer Brothers have refused to give any spoilers. The best hint they could give is, I think the biggest thing that's going to happen is it's going to open up a little bit, not necessarily in terms of scale, in terms of special effects, but open up in terms of allowing plot lines into areas outside of Hawkins. That's as much as we can expect to see in Season 4 in terms of facts, but as usual, fans will always have their theories based on their analyzation. I've compiled some of the craziest theories in this video. Jim Hopper seems certain that he'll be back in Season 4 on his social media posts, even though the show made it look like he was dead. We've seen the bodies of everyone who's died in the show, and viewers are yet to see the remains of Jim Hopper. Until we get to see his remains, we can comfortably assume that he's still alive. Let's not forget the ladder in the end of Season 3, which he probably used to escape. Also, for someone who has been supposedly wrapped, he seems to be hinting and talking about the show a bit too much. There's a pretty convincing theory which has recently come up. Stranger Things 1 took place in 1983 in winter. Stranger Things 2 took place in the fall of 1984. Stranger Things 3 took place in the summer of 1985. So we expect the setting of Season 4 to be in the spring of 1986. That's the same time Russian Chernobyl took place. Intriguing. It means if the writers play their cards well, they may be able to borrow 1 or 2 things from Chernobyl. Don't you think that it would make so much sense if the interdimensional monsters were a result of some nuclear disaster? It's quite a stretch, but the theory makes a lot of sense if you think about it. Okay, apart from that, you may be wondering who to expect in the 4th season. We expect to see a lot of familiar faces in Season 4, including Elle, Joyce, Mike, Dustin, Will, Max, Robin, and so forth. Dr. Alexei may not be returning in Season 4 since he was shot in the stomach by Grigori, a Russian operative. However, there's a chance he may also still be alive, like Hopper. One person who will definitely not be back is Billy, since he sacrificed himself to the mind flare at the Battle of Starcourt Mall. Murray and Joyce will be partnering up in Season 4. Jim Hopper gave away Murray's phone number, and people tried to call the number. Much to their surprise, it actually went through, and the voicemail gave away a clue. There's a message for Joyce on the voicemail which says that the two need to talk.
Hey, this is Joyce. Joyce, thank you for calling. I've been trying to reach you. I have an update. It's about, it's probably best if we speak in person. It's not good or bad, but it's something.
Probably the aim is to figure out where Hopper is and what the Russians are up to next. So, of course, we also expect to see more Russian involvement in Season 4. The Russians were able to trap a monster from the Upside Down, and it appears that its staple food is humans. They also have an American in custody, and everyone strongly believes that the American is Jim Hopper. It's the last place anyone wants to see Jim Hopper, but it also gives viewers the hope that he's still alive. Throughout the third season, the Russians referred to Hopper as the American, and it's highly unlikely that they'd refer to another person the same way. The Mind Flayer may no longer be a problem in Hawkins, but the Demogorgon is back and hungry for destruction. It was last seen in Russia, but since it has special portal opening powers, it may just make its way back to Hawkins or wherever the cast will be based. One thing we know is that the monster is angry and ready for revenge, and hell hath no fury like a monster scorned. So the big question is how they will fight the monster without supernatural powers. The most unfortunate thing is that Elle may never be able to get her powers back. She lost her powers at the Battle of Starcourt and tried to use them at the end of Season 3 in vain. There's a possibility that she will train herself to use them again with the help of Dr. Brenner. However, it will also be cool to watch her live a normal life without her powers. That way, the cast will have to come up with creative and interesting ways to destroy the monster. Dr. Brenner also comes in handy to answer another question fans have been having for a long time. How did the Russians get to know about the Upside Down? The Russian Gate project moved from Kamchatka to Indiana. At Hawkins, a gate was created by accident in 1983, and in 1984, the Russians were intentionally trying to create another portal. In Episode 6, Dustin and Erica discovered cages, which were the perfect sizes to contain the monsters, and in the end, they managed to capture one of them. It's clear that the Russians were prepared, but the details as to how they knew so much may be revealed in the fourth season. The most reasonable explanation is that Dr. Brenner was working for the Russians. He ran the Hawkins lab, which supposedly leaked information to the Russians. In Season 1, he's portrayed as an unethical scientist who illegally does experiments on children like Elle. He was allegedly killed in the rampage in 1983, but in Season 2, Eleven learned that he could be alive. Her lost sister, Kali, was unable to track him down, but his return is inevitable in Season 4. Since the show is almost coming to an end, linking Eleven's papa to the Russians will ultimately tie up several loose ends. Elle will finally get to shut down Dr. Brenner's operations for good with the help of the other kids and adults. In the process, they probably also get to save Jim Hopper. The question is whether Dr. Brenner will be the biggest human villain in Season 4. Well, there are two possibilities that I can think of. One, he was forcefully taken and tortured to cooperate with the Russians, which means he could also be the American in custody instead of the anticipated Jim Hopper. Two, he willingly worked for the Russians and they protected him to the extent Kali couldn't trace him. The second assumption seems more likely if you ask me. He looks like someone who willingly participated. Obviously, the kids are now teenagers, and as stated earlier, the series will have to take a more mature approach. We expect to see a bit of love drama, probable heartbreaks, and fewer video games. So far, we only have theories, but one of them will definitely be true. It's happened in the past where fans correctly predicted occurrences in Stranger Things. When asked what he thought about the theories making rounds on the internet, Levy said, "I will say, every once in a while, there's a fan theory that lands uncomfortably close to home." We saw that happen in advance of Season 3, and I'm already seeing a few online that may prove to be prophetic. Of course, they will not give the fans everything they ask for, especially if they choose not to bring Hopper back. That would be a twist nobody anticipates. Let us know which plot theory makes sense to you and why before Netflix releases the first official trailer. Oh, and if you've not yet subscribed to the channel, you know what to do.